100. So
Wow.
So it's been very supportive and
Okay,
heartwarming.
it has to be
know
more
that.
than 100 now because we've got really hot young models.
That's what we thought. Did you just call yourself hot and young?
No, young. The key word is young, okay? Before 30 was hot, after 30 is young, okay?
I like that phrase. I like that phrase. Awesome. Oh, it's gonna be a fun one tonight, I think. Yeah.
I hope so. But it's actually pretty new for me. I've never done it before, so.
Okay. Well, welcome to the new norm. Right?
Thanks, guys.
I mean, before this whole fucking thing, there has been obviously, words that we've never heard of, unprecedented. That has, I mean, obviously I've used that, but never in such, intense use, right? Unprecedented, new norm, right? Lockdown, it's like
lockdown, quarantine, self-quarantine. Who the hell does it to themselves, right?
And then only electricians say circuit breaker.
Circuit breaker.
Now everybody is an electrician talking about circuit breakers and oh god. So that's a bit of a joke. But it's a interesting, strange, and yet kind of an amazing time because Katya, myself, and Laila, we have been home. As much as we are doing our own things, but we are also spending a lot of time together. I think that's also the beauty of it, right?
Yeah. I thought that it's going to be so much harder to adapt to the new situation, but it was actually pretty easy.
Yeah.
Or maybe because I've got a fridge full of wine.
it does makes things easier.
Definitely. Yeah. So I'm totally going to come out of this quarantine with a little bit of a puff face.
Having too much liquid in you.
And a little bit of extra, fat all over. But it's okay. I'm fine with that. It's better this way.
Lovely. Hi everyone, welcome. We're gonna just chill a little as per our typical norm. We're gonna chill for next 7 to 8 minutes for people to start streaming in. What's gonna happen is in the meantime, if you could just again say hi in the chat box. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and perhaps your IG handle, so that we can get to know each other a little better.
Yeah. And while we're waiting for people to come in onto Zoom, we have people on, some of the guests on actually Facebook as well. Hi, Evelyn. What happened? You guys are avoiding Zoom because you don't want to show your face. That's why you're on Facebook Live. Yeah. Hello, Kat. DGT is in as well.
Cool. Eric is in. Looks like, yeah, you see, it takes three hot and young girls to bring Eric into this Zoom. We have had so many Zooms.
For the first time.
We had so many Zooms for the last few weeks, and Eric just got in. What?
With a new interesting background.
Where is he? Let me find him. Where are you, Eric? With the aurora. Are you trying to look a bit,
Scandinavian.
Unmute, Eric. Say hello. Yeah. Grace us with your presence.
So I've been talking to myself.
Yes, you have. Yeah, you do that a lot, apparently. That much I know.
I'm saying all these things. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Hi, Katya.
Hi, Eric.
Hello.
Eric is a good friend of mine, a lovely photographer who's now, he used to live in Singapore. He's now living in Sydney. So,
Yes.
It's
very cold here. It gets down to about 8 degrees.
Okay, we're jealous.
Now it's not even winter yet.
Jealous.
Yeah.
Stop it.
We're officially jealous.
Let's kick him out of the session. Can we kick him out?
Okay, for 5 minutes.
Fuck
okay,
off.
mute him for 5 minutes.
Hi, Vance.
Hi, Eric.
Hey, hello.
Oh dear, I think my earphones just went crap on me. Low battery.
That's why you need a headphone that makes you sound sexy at the same time.
Man, but I don't. Actually, I do, but it's for gaming. So you see my
Yeah,
priorities.
this is for gaming.
Can you imagine my priorities?
Yeah.
I don't want to touch my gaming stuff. So,
So show us your voice when you talk to models.
Well.
Is it screaming high pitch or is like low, you know?
I mean, you look at Brian's voice. It's so sexy, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, say something.
Something. See?
Something.
It's all
like
about this gaming headphone that makes make all the geeks and gamers, professional gamers, don't sound like
Sounds
they seem.
scary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. We've got 31 people.
Yeah, and we are having
5 more
we
minutes.
have about 20 people on Facebook as well. Hi Bobby, hi Bill. Hey Victor, how are you? How are you guys?
I think Eric is the star of our chat today. It's like everyone's saying hi to him.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
See? Yeah.
I miss Singapore.
The background.
I really do miss Singapore.
It's obviously Singapore misses you.
Yeah, well, I mean, that being said, I think I will say it now as well. I'm going to say it later, but we're going to have a session with Eric on Wednesday. We're going to do a feature on Eric on Wednesday. So if you guys are interested in Eric and his work and his approach to photography, join us again on Wednesday.
That sounds fantastic.
Hi, Evelyn. Hobbies photographer. Hope to learn from posing tips. Wow, posing tips. Start posing, girls.
Oh no.
Work it. You've got a camera on you. Lovely. I might disappoint you, Evelyn, but we may not be doing posing tips, but who knows? Anything can go tonight.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, but Evelyn is quite good at posing. She's doing all the planking pose. Yeah.
Is it? You checked out her IG, is it?
Yeah, she do live every evening. So trying to make me join her, planking. Yeah, but no way, man. I got to cook. Cooking is tiring too. Yeah. 6 p.m. daily planks.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just can't do planking.
Yeah. Yeah, I do reverse plank. Yeah.
Reverse plank.
There's Jeffrey from Malaysia and on Facebook Live. So for those who wants to speak to us and if you're on Facebook, what you can do is that you can join us onto our link, the Zoom link that's provided, so that you can come on board and maybe ask questions, show your face on Zoom. At the same time, have a chat in real time as well. Yep. Okay, I think we're getting more people. Let's wait another 5 more minutes before we start proper.
Cool. Everyone had your dinner?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Why don't we all say what we had for dinner in the chat?
All right. I had, what did I have? Something ribs. Something ribs.
For the rest of you, just go ahead and tell us what you had for dinner. My beautiful wife Katya just made me chicken. So that's amazing. Chicken, grilled chicken. Super nice.
I had my mom's food, beef stew.
Oh, beef lovely.
Stew. Yeah.
I had bak chor mee. Yeah.
Homemade?
No. No,
Nice.
I can't. I
Dabao.
didn't cook today because I made lunch, and then because the kitchen was so oily after doing steak and yeah, so I mopped the floor, and then I realized that I don't want to do dinner anymore today. So yeah,
Oh.
Gosh, someone just
Great you have an
mentioned
option.
wonton. I miss
Yeah.
wonton. Oh my god.
Say again, Katya, what do you say?
No, I said it's great when you have an option of not cooking.
She's got Katya has 2 mouths to feed here
Oh.
in this house.
Katya is easy. You just pass the phone to one of them and say order whatever you want. Yeah,
Well, I
And-
do that sometimes.
yeah.
Katya,
It's
the
tiring,
other
right?
day,
Yeah.
she surprised us by ordering shashlik, from a Russian place. It was
Yeah.
so good.
Wow.
I've been there
That
once.
that
I've
was
been there
good.
once. Mm.
Katya, I
Yeah.
need your contact so I can just, buy it for my husband and
Yeah.
pretend that I cooked it once when he's flying, I just say, here, I have
Очень,
shashlik for you.
очень вкусно. Очень вкусно,
Yes,
да.
you should do that.
Yeah.
Hey Katya, there's HelloFresh and Mali Spoon, very easy to follow. Jeff can easily get it done.
Huh? What?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's you order the food, they pack it up, you follow the recipe, and you cook everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one pager.
Mm.
Very,
Yeah, I've
very
heard of
easy.
it actually. I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Put him to work.
No, the thing is that she heard of it, but she decided that she doesn't want to take the risk because
I think so.
No. at end of the day, she still got to cook the dinner again and then wasted money on the. Yeah.
Well, I'm still waiting for the dish that suits me because we eat sometimes different food.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Then you know what you should do? You should actually send Jeff to me after the circuit breaker to learn something so that he can cook something for you. Yeah.
Wait. I think the two of you will be playing games instead of
That's true.
I'll be poisoning you on flight sim
Yeah.
soon.
There you go.
I poisoned you one time. I'm sure I can poison you again.
Oh god.
Okay, this is bad. Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, we got 40. I think we should
Yep.
just start. It's already 8:42. Cool. Brian, you want
Alright.
to take it? You want to do the intro? Say hello.
Yeah, I don't have the thing, so yeah.
No. I
go
mean,
ahead.
I'll intro the girls. You
Yeah.
can go ahead and intro Raw and the proceedings
No,
of the
just
night.
go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Link.
Then. As you can see, we are not very rehearsed.
Yeah.
We're
Everything
very
is just
casual
raw.
here, okay? Yeah, we are very raw. All right. Hi guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. I think as always, we are very appreciative of your attendance and your support and just hanging out with us. So tonight we've got a exceptionally wonderful night because we are graced by the presence of 3 lovely ladies. We have Sasha, which you can see by the name of Aleksandra.
Hi
Yeah.
everyone.
Lovely. And then we have Jean
Hello.
there. And then we have Katya,
Hi.
who's also my wife. She's downstairs. We're in
Oh.
different rooms. Okay. So the idea behind tonight's talk is generally us trying to position coming from a position where we would love to know more about what happens in front of our cameras. As photographers, often, we work with models, obviously, but, how does models perceive us as photographers? How does models react to certain things that photographers do, vice versa? These are the things we love to understand more from the model's perspective, because, I always believe that it is very much a team effort working with whoever's in front of you. There has to be a great amount of trust and sincerity when you work with the people you work with. And, I've always forged that relationship with whoever I work with to have that amount of professionalism and obviously trust so that we can do amazing things together. I think it has to come from that fundamental foundation of of that relationship so that we can then, do amazing work together. So, let's keep it very open and casual. I have a few questions that I prepared that I would love to talk about. But for all you guys on Zoom and Facebook, do drop in your questions if you have any for the three of them in the chat group, and at some point we will find a way to answer them for you. Okay. In the meantime, I would love to introduce a little bit about Sasha. Okay, she is. I've known her for a long time. It's been a while.
10 years.
Easily. And I know your husband David as well for quite many more years than you. So yes.
Yeah.
So in your bio, right, it says Super of Russia 2006. Wow.
Oh gosh, that sounds so long ago.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Because I'm losing my earphones. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right. So that must have been amazing. You've been modeling for the last 15 years, and you are also your own. You have your own label, a swimwear label and designer by the name of ITT.
That's correct.
ITT swimwear.
Yeah.
So that's super amazing. I love your designs, and
Thank you so much.
Talk a little bit about that as we go along. A cover girl for all the known magazines. She's been doing. Obviously being a local model now in Singapore, you've done pretty much all the local stuff, right?
Definitely.
The fashion shows and so on and so forth. So that's pretty cool. And then we moving over to Jean. Yeah.
Hey.
You have a very, very long list of achievements as a model. So first things first, you have been a model since 2017.
Yeah.
Right? And you're signed with Ford Models in New York and Paris, Wilhelmina in London, Why Not in Milan, View Management. These are all the top modeling agencies around the world, and to be represented by them on a global platform, I think that's very impressive.
Thank you.
So I applaud you for that. You were scouted through modeling competitions in Singapore via the New Paper, New Face in 2017. So you are actually quite a baby in this industry.
Yeah, about 2.5 years.
2.5 years, and you're wrapped by that list of agencies. That's fucking impressive.
But I started late. Like in modeling years, I started pretty late. Like I started when I was 22. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that goes to show age doesn't really matter, right? So yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. And then we have Katya. Wow, how do I even start? I've all good things. Okay, I don't
Save
need to
the best for the last, right?
I don't need to see a script on that. Okay, well, I mean, Katya has been modeling since she was 14. Traveling as a model, all around the world, and I think that in itself is a very impressive feat to be at that age. Traveling, to a foreign land. Interacting with people at that age. So I think that in itself is amazing. And I've always actually had such respect for models who travel so young at that age. I can't quite imagine. I mean, our daughter is turning 10, tomorrow, and imagine in 4 years from now, imagine if she goes traveling as a model. That would just freak me out big time, right?
I was just about to say, it's more as a parent. How do you deal with it?
I know.
Katya must be thinking, what if my daughter meets another Jeff?
I know, that's the worst.
Oh, thanks, huh? Thank you, huh?
Yeah.
No, as in like, how do you explain to her? Not the worst.
Yeah, because she said, "Mommy, but you did it." And then I got nothing to say, right? I think being a model, to travel all around the world and to be so exposed and in such a worldly sense, does make someone grow up and mature really, really fast, and a lot of people might think, modeling is a very simple, frivolous job, and that, it doesn't take much brains and stuff like that, I will surely, change your mind, by the end of this talk, because it sure does take a lot of effort to be in front of the camera. It sure does take a lot of thinking to come up with a pose even, so I think these are the things that would be very, very, interesting to talk about tonight. All right, so how are we going to start this? Let's see.
Okay,
I have some questions.
I have a very interesting question. Okay, so this is something on a more lighter note, especially, okay, so that photographers, right? There's the kind that, we do this for a living, we hold a proper camera, we shoot proper stuff. Then there's another kind of photographers that holds a camera, and we call them the guy with cameras. So in the modeling, in the modeling industry, there are also the same kind of thing where you girls are the models, and then there are the other kinds that pose for guys with cameras, and they call themselves models as well. Let's talk about this. What do you girls think about those kind of talents that call themselves models? And
you mean influencers on Instagram? Those kind of people.
Ouch. That's maybe one. Okay, no, but
okay, can I answer that? Because I've got an answer. So because I actually saw the comparison, right? When influencers, so-called, walk on the runway, and the professional models, it's totally different things. Totally different. You can see a professional and you can see an influencer. I'm sorry, I love you all. Okay, I love all the people, but it's so obvious.
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean that there is no great models and talents among influencers,
Mm-hmm. I think, going back to the heydays of modeling, where, take for example, John Robert Powers, the grandfather of modeling, in the old days, I'm talking 20 over 30 years ago, where to be a model, one has to join the school of modeling in the department workshop, to learn to walk, to have a book on their head, and to learn to pose. There's a it's a whole workshop that models go through. Now today, apparently, as long as you look a little bit different, you look weird, you're tall, you're skinny, you are a model, and you're just thrown into the mix, and then you're expected to figure out how to pose and how to do something. That often I get, because when I'm shooting with foreign models, quite a lot of time they come to me super inexperienced. They don't know how to pose, they don't know how to stand, they don't know how to sit, and I have to teach them a lot, when I'm shooting. So it's pretty frustrating, and I think a lot of the models today lose that charm in terms of being able to work in front of the camera. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah. Actually, just totally I saw G laughing. Yeah.
Because actually 15 years ago, I paid to the modeling agency to do all of that. I can't believe it. They literally milked me, So,
how much did you pay for it?
Oh, but I was really little money. But yeah, so when I was starting out, we used to do these fashion shows and photo shoots where I didn't get paid at all. And it was all going to the agency, because they keep saying like, oh, you're just learning, from it. So you're just getting experience and stuff like that. Yeah, but it worked out well though. Not complaining. And now actually when I go for I'm actually so grateful for my teachers, because now when I go and do my fashion shows and stuff, I've been one of the best models who do catwalk, and I always end up teaching people, like teaching new models and stuff. It always feels so embarrassing, but yeah.
I mean, even for Katya, I think you sometimes come back from doing your shows, and you always tell me about how some models can't walk. I think your training as a model, I would love to hear about that. Because you are one of the best walkers I know. Don't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, it's an art to walk, and to turn. That's an art. I think a lot of models don't possess that ability. And I think all three of you, I've seen all of you walk, and I'm quite proud to say that we have the cream of the crop tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Jean, you were the most recent. Was yours experience as the same as Sasha? 15 years ago? Yeah.
No, So for me, I actually started modeling without any background knowledge at all. I got scouted through a modeling competition in Singapore. And then from there, my agency boss like gave me guidance on like one-on-one on how to walk, how to pose, the basics, and that's about it. And then a lot of things I gained through experience. So for me, I didn't like attend a course or something along those lines, but I know of many models, especially in also in like in China and Korea market, right, where there are a lot of very strong models there. A lot of them actually go to university for modeling.
Wow.
So yeah, their groundwork is really, really very good. And so as someone who doesn't have that kind of like foundation, right, having to kind of like compete with them in the European market, for example, I still feel that sometimes having a strong foundation is very important. So yeah, so yeah, also kudos to people who are able to just put themselves out there lah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Katya?
I have something to add on. Yeah, sorry, Katya.
Go ahead.
No, finish.
I personally feel that as much as there has to be a base of learning how to walk and pose perhaps, and I've done that myself with my great friend now. She was teaching me how to walk and how to sort of behave on events even, and I have a great school on many things, but I feel that even sometimes exactly you don't have to have much experience in learning, but would rather with yourself and find how do you feel, on the stage, and observe as well. Observation is one of the best tools there is for us to learn. So once you observe and then you feel it within yourself, I guess that's the really best, way to put it out there. And for me, I'm all about, giving out the energy. So if you're in the mood and you have to be in the mood as a model always, and you have to love it. And once you're loving it, then it just shows. And because I know some of the models, that been doing schools of learning years of walking, for example, and they still don't get the full of it, because I feel personally it's just the fact they don't feel it. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So
yeah, they're just doing it for money, basically, and just to get it done and over with. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, but I think me and Katya had really great experience like 10 years ago with really old modern age, if you remember, when we were doing fashion shows like at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then our stylist used to teach us how to walk. Remember that? That was unforgettable lessons, seriously, at 6 a.m. in the morning in Paragon. It was fantastic. I'll never forget that.
I had a recent one which was even more interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Let's segue into talking about, I would love to do this in a somewhat of a chronological manner. So let's talk a little bit about casting, right, ladies? What would you consider a good casting call? And I mean, as photographers, we call for castings, so I would love to understand what it would be a nice experience for you when you attend a casting. How would you like a dream casting to happen? Obviously it's going to be a pile up of a lot of girls and guys in a room waiting your turn to see the photographer. What are the processes that will make it better for you? We want to be better, right, as photographers.
Can I go on first on this?
Yes.
That is bursting.
Well, I mean, we obviously all have our life besides modeling. For some models, of course, modeling is their main thing to do, but at the same time, there are still other, things to do, like workouts or whatever life thing going on. And I think that, having schedule for different agencies, for example, at least, or even sometimes now it's, great ability to even give castings for each model, the special timing. That's amazing because, we can continue doing our life after the castings or between the castings. So it's one of the important things.
The main concerns,
Yeah.
timing.
Yeah.
Please time it
It's all about
properly.
timing.
Okay, as
Yeah.
opposed to all piling in and then
Yeah.
waiting 2 hours for your turn
It's
to
horrible.
only spend 2
Yeah.
minutes,
Yeah.
with the photographer or the creative person just flipping through your book and go thank you, right?
Yeah.
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 Totally agree.
Wasting time.
Yeah. How about
Absolutely.
Jean? How are your casting experiences overseas with photographers, for example?
With photographers, so far what I've experienced is a lot of times it was a very informal setting. Like recently I went to London, I've done quite a bit of castings with photographers there, and then I have to go to their houses or
Okay.
either that or the studios. So
Okay.
when go there, they will actually make an effort to find out more about you, which is nice. I always like
Okay.
it when like the casting
Yes.
person, the photographer, actually make an effort to know more about the model rather than
Yes.
just like just look
Yeah.
at your book and say okay, thank you, that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah, and find out where you come from and like why you model, what are other hobbies and things like that. So yeah, I think we really need to strike a conversation with the model, because when you go, if you really do work with the photographer, you need to create some sort of synergy, right? So
Yep.
having that interaction with the model is
Yes.
very important. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I agree with
that's
Jean, because
very
I
good
think you want to
advice.
see the personality of the model at the same time, because
Mm.
when you work with her, right, it's not only like the way she poses and stuff, it's also her personality really shows a lot. So you really want to engage in conversation, that's for sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. I
so
think
connect and sort of let it out.
Yep.
Let the model relax and bring it the best on the shoot.
Totally.
Especially with the newbies, the young girls.
Yeah. But I mean, Jean, you mentioned something about going to a photographer's house, for example. Does that terrify you a little to be going to a photographer's house?
Okay, maybe when I just started out, when I didn't really have like good agencies to support me, I was a bit afraid, because ultimately it's a stranger's house.
Exactly.
So it's very important to have like your agency to screen through the casting person, the photographer, the background, the credentials, to make sure that the models are protected as well. So that is actually a very important part, to have a very strong support system.
Yeah. Okay, that's very good advice. And what's the best way to reach out to models in terms of for example, a photographer who wants to do a test shoot with you? He sees your image, or he or she sees your image on Instagram and would like to do a test shoot with you. Is there a protocol for you on the individual level? Would you how would you go about addressing this in terms of doing test shoots with photographers? Any?
Okay,
Yeah.
So for
Yes,
me, when I receive like requests on Instagram or social media to do a test shoot, I will always refer them to my agency.
Okay.
Because I know that I trust my agency, so they have my best interest at heart. So which they will screen through and see whether is it safe for me to accept that proposal or not, that kind of thing. So always refer to my agency for me. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same with me, because I'm still on a contract with my agency here in Singapore. And it also, they can give you an advice whether it's good to work with this guy or not, whether his job was really good or it's just going to take your image a bit like low profile, like you don't really want to work with this guy because it's not really good.
Exactly. So do you feel that photographers should perhaps put together a little portfolio or a little proposal?
definitely because we definitely have to see his work, what he's doing, and whether we can trust him or not,
Exactly. Okay, so that's something that you photographers need to take note of in terms of reaching out to models, because I think they have as much of their time to lose if you do a horrible job. So you need to come prepared with your portfolio to justify your standard, number one. Number two, perhaps you need to even put together some sense of a treatment about what kind of test shoot you're going to do, right? Because obviously test shoots, there are no money involved. Everybody is trading their time for pictures, so to speak. So you need to have a very clear direction in terms of what you want to explore, whether is it worth, for them to work with you on it, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
It makes you look professional as well.
Well, while we are still on the topic of test shoot, so
Mhm.
ladies, what are your expectations like? If let's say a photographer is to request for a test shoot with you, and then end of the day, maybe he just give you 2 pictures. Yeah. So maybe you want to talk about this, and then some bad experience, or I mean, if it's a very big production of kind of test shoot, yeah, maybe 1 or 2 pictures is fine because it's a very elaborated shoot.
Mm.
And it's hard to achieve, right? But if let's say like a simple fashion shoot or a beauty shot and things like that, yeah, what are the expectations that you have?
Okay, it happened to me before, actually, several things when we kind of had a lot of miscommunication with the photographer, but he's kind of big shot back in Russia. And in the end of the day, we just didn't like each other so much that he actually erased the entire photo shoot, saying that, oh, oops, accident, happened. So I didn't see any picture at all. And others are like, you shoot the whole day, you're frying yourself under the sun, right? And then you see like 1 page of 10 photos, like literally 1 page, and then they just chuck 10 photos on this page. And you're like, literally, this is in magazines, let's say, right? But in a test shoot, yeah, if it's really great photos, even if it's 2 photos, but they are fantastic and mind-blowing and sensational, it's worth it. Totally. Yeah. Yeah, someone said he's a prick. Yeah, he was a prick.
Exactly.
And I was like only 18 or 17 something. I didn't have that much experience with Russian photographers as well. So for me, it was quite unique to work with Russian photographers. I used to work overseas. I've done shoots in Paris and New York as well. So I was like, okay, something different maybe. And then he was just so up there, and just like, okay, supermodel of Russia. Okay, show me what you can do. And then it's like, I don't know what was this whole thing about. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Okay.
No
so in terms of say test shoots, would you guys I mean it's a test shoot, right? I mean in terms of there are obviously 2 kinds of test shoots. There are the free test shoot, and then there's also the I'm willing to pay you for a test shoot. What would be the going
priority?
rate for a test shoot? Yeah, in terms of if you were to give a number, someone wants to hire you for a test, for example.
I can't answer in that question, to be honest. Like really
Okay.
cannot. Not that because I've got a contract or anything, I just really don't know.
Yeah.
The higher,
Yeah,
the better, I
It's
guess.
difficult. Yeah.
I think it's a really hard one because it really depends on the circumstances. What are the relationships between you and perhaps the photographer that maybe someone that and etc. So it really depends.
Okay.
I don't know. For me, yeah.
Okay. But I think in general, I would say if it's a test shoot, I think the only right thing for the photographer to do, even if it's doing something for free in terms of models, is to at least reimburse the model for transport. Obviously buying meals and so on and so forth should be a given, but I think simple things like reimbursing for transport and having taxis and everything would be the fair thing to do. And I would advise photographers to take care of your models in that
totally agree.
that respect, right? Okay, cool. Moving forward, we've got some questions, I guess, streaming in. Let's take the one from...
Actually, earlier on, there's some questions already.
Yeah. Who are the other models that you admire? Why? Or do you admire non-models? Example, actors, etc. In terms of drawing inspiration.
I love the 90s models. I just love them. I think there's so much life in it. Freedom, passionate, passion, and it's just amazing. I just love it. The old school is the best.
That's why I think like our generation, a lot of people like claim that some people are like supermodels, but I think no one can really compare to the times in the 90s.
The original, the original
OGs.
5 of supermodels, right?
Yeah.
You know, your Cindy Crawford, your Naomi Campbell, your Linda Evangelista.
Yeah.
Who else? Those few. I think it's 5 or 6 of them. Right?
Well, there are still also the oldies from the Victoria's Secret. That's also kind of an inspiration.
Yeah, amazing.
Yep.
Especially if you're into the line of, lingerie kind of shorts or shows that.
But Victoria's Secret era is also over, right? Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about the olden times.
Yeah, of course.
Yep. Oh, okay, that's cool. That's where you draw your inspirations from. How about which model agencies allow casting if it's only for test shoots? Michelle, I think first and foremost, there won't be casting for test shoots because it takes time and money to get to you for casting. So if it's a test shoot, more often than not, modeling agencies will send you composite cuts of the available models that are willing to do test shoots. So you have to choose them off composite cuts, right? That they will email to you. So very seldom would you be able to get a casting. Yeah?
Or you could also send an idea of what you want to do to the agencies. And then they will maybe recommend a model who wants to do that kind of portfolio as well. Yeah, you can try that way.
Yeah. Always remember, if it's test shoots, always think of what the model is going to walk away from. Because I think you must always remember that models need pictures to open doors for them in a particular genre, for example. So just by looking at a model's composite cuts, for example, and you want to do a test with this model, you can also look at it and go, okay, you know what? This model is shot of a beautiful headshot, So endeavor to do a very beautiful headshot for her so that she can use it for her main cover, So in that instance, it's a win-win. She comes to you, you get to do something that you want to do, and then you let her walk away with an image that she needs because she's lacking a beautiful headshot, for example, right? So sometimes it's about that collaboration. You want to work with a model and make it beneficial for her and her time as well. Agree, girls?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I think, sometimes you just go there and then you succumb to the photographer's vision, which is half the time a bit bizarre, and you can't even fucking use it after that, and you wasted, a couple of hours of your life, doing something that is his vision or her vision, and then, it's just not usable because it's not marketable and it doesn't go on your com card, and then it's a waste of your time, right? So always remember, to do something that's worth everybody's time, right? I mean, don't be so egoistic to think that, you, the photographer, and your vision is amazing and it's going to be, I mean, try convincing people first. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to be a bit of a hardball tonight because, I mean, I've always made it, a point in my career as a photographer to always take care of models, because I think they are a very integral part of the crew. Apart from taking care of, my assistants and my producers and my clients, I think, models, shouldn't be any less. They come in front of the camera and they bring a lot to the table. So I think, there has to be a high amount of respect given and trust given to models, right? That's something that I've always held in my, in me when in the way I behave as a photographer, and I think, that goes with a certain amount of reputation, and when that reputation, supersedes your reputation will go around town going, hey, Jeff is a really good, photographer. He takes care of models and la 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 la, and people want to work with you. So if you think from that perspective, it will open more doors for you. You know what I'm saying?
Hey Jeff, I have to say something. Even if you had a bad reputation, but your photos are damn good, I'll definitely work with you, okay?
Don't spoil photographers. No, Sasha,
Yeah, I
don't
know,
say that.
but that's because I know you, right?
An asshole is an asshole.
Yeah.
Am I
Thank
selling
you.
myself cheap now?
Thank you. Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
But you
Having
have to
said
be
that,
good. You
yeah.
have to be damn good to be an asshole, to be honest. You know what I mean? You have to be
But
really
it's a
up there.
bonus. If you think
Yeah.
about it, it's a bonus. If you're a lovely person and yet you shoot amazing pictures, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that a win-win? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just different energies on the set as well. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So, I mean, what about any difference in working with photographers around the world? I mean, since all of you have been traveling around and things like that, so between like Singapore, New York, London, Japan, or any other countries that you've worked with, any difference in the way photographers treat you or how they work? Yeah, and your experience. Maybe you want to share a little bit on that?
Jean, I think you have the latest experience.
Okay, because actually when I go overseas, a lot of times I'm just doing like fashion shows, not much of like photo shoots.
Mhm.
But then from what I've experienced, right, I did have like bad experience in like Milan, for example, because language barrier is a huge thing. So I think even if you don't understand like each other in terms of the language, right, you don't share a common language, at least try to make an effort to
Mhm.
engage the models and not just ignore the models completely, because that was what happened to me in Milan once, like when I just started out. So at that time, the lady, it was a woman photographer, I think. She refused to speak to me, even though I think she can speak basic English. But I couldn't. I tried my best to like speak in Italian, but I really can't, apart from the basic words. So it was just like one way, and then there's no two-way conversation going on. So in the end, I just like really had a very bad experience during that shoot. Yeah.
Maybe the Italian language that you speak, someone teach you the wrong word and then
Cannot be lah.
yeah.
Yeah. But I always have like good experiences in London, for example, where everyone is
Mm.
more like very creative over there, and then they're willing to listen to each other's insight. They even ask like models to do some free flow things, and then from like your expression and everything, then they capture the moment. So yeah, I do have good experiences in London more than like other places.
Okay. What about the photographers in Singapore? I mean, the three of you have been in Singapore for so long. What do you feel about photographers in Singapore that you've experienced with?
Katya, you live with one.
Well, I guess there are quite a few very experienced photographers, or sometimes it's not about experience, but would rather the setting of everything else for the shoot that is also important. Like Jeff was saying, taking care of everything on set is pretty important to set the mood for models and everyone else. It's not very often that you get that, but yeah, you still do get that. And I guess Singapore do give that professionalism sometimes. So it's lovely to know we're in a place that you can, sort of expect to get something good out of as an experience, not just as a job and as an experience to get some pictures, but as an experience to work with someone, and connect in different ways.
Yep.
I think overseas the photographers are more free to do things, so that's why they're a little bit like, I can say, more creative. Whether in Singapore they are really depend on the stylists or the editors, so they have like the picture of what the editor want to see. Whether overseas they're like, okay, let's just have some fun, let's do something creative and just let you move and stuff. When I'm going to the set in Singapore, let's say, right? They already have a clear picture of what they want. They want me to pose, you know, like, okay, you stand here and bend your hand to the, like, left hand to the right and right to the left, you know, and just make some weird poses. Whether overseas, just like, okay, let's just have fun, free flow, basically, just move, and we'll catch the picture.
But I think for me, like the ideal situation is to have a balance of both. It's very important for the photographer to have like a direction and like
that would be that's as well.
But then give a little bit of flexibility for the models as well. Yeah. So I think a balance would be great.
Yeah,
I mean, in terms of important factors about keeping a model comfortable, you know, it's again in the details, right? In terms of, you know, the makeup room or green room that you're working in, you know, there has to be a comfortable chair, for example, you know, when you're doing hair and makeup, you know, because the poor girl is sitting there for the next hour getting her hair and makeup done, and it's a hard chair to sit on. You know, it's in the details, right? And obviously you want to feed the models well, you know, get them, you know, not just chicken rice, but, you know, something appropriate. For example, the typical production food in Singapore has always been chicken rice, you know.
McDonald's.
McDonald's.
You want skinny models, but
chicken rice is still right.
You know, so I think it's all these small little details that would make a model appreciate you. Because when she sees that your production or you, the photographer, have gone to a certain extent in terms of making them feel comfortable, making them feel, you know, welcomed, then I think, you know, it's a two-way street. They will work harder for you. They will give you better poses. They will give you, you know, they won't want to rush out of the studio. They will stay to give you that 10 extra shots. You know, it's all this kind of small little things that I think makes a model want to work with you in a very open way. Would you say that?
Yeah, I personally would add, you know, that there is, you know, in modeling, there is really no one that sort of look after us models besides the agency. But when you're on set and you don't have your agency or whoever that can, you know, sort of protect you in any way, the way people conversate with you or connect with you in general. And I think photographer is the only person that sort of can take the leap of how to, you know, make you comfortable as a model. Because, I mean, you are the photographer that's, you know, doing this whole experience, doing this whole shoot, and not the stylist, not the makeup artist. And it's funny when you see actually makeup artists taking, you know, the lead and making the model comfortable, you know, getting things that need to be done. And that makes you feel a little even uncomfortable because the photographer doesn't really care about you. And it just puts such a disbalance in, you know, during the shoot. So it's very comforting when the photographer really taking care of you. Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, which
adding on to what
next.
Sasha said, so adding on to what Sasha has said, so a lot of photographers in Singapore, I understand that, you know, we are being limited by what the editors want, what the creative director wants. So as photographers, what we can do is that after each set is done, you know, maybe spend another 5 to 10 more minutes if there is enough time to actually let the model free flow. At the same time, let yourself free flow as a photographer. For all you know, the images that come out at the last 10 minutes may be something that's so beautiful that, you know, the client decide that, hey, this can be additional things that I want, and they'll buy from you, and everybody goes home happy as well. So I think that's a very important point for both photographers and the model as well. Yeah.
Super.
Absolutely.
Which will lead us to the next question. What do you consider a good photographer?
Jeff? What question? What question is that?
Okay, I'm leaving for now.
Sorry, I just don't know you that well. Okay.
It's okay. It's all right. Yeah. Good night, Dalina.
My wife is here.
Okay. A good photographer. Just be
Well,
professional. Don't be dodgy. I don't know. Just do your job well. Just be nice.
Take care of the models.
Yeah, feed us
Yeah.
basically better.
Yeah.
No, that's a joke, of course, but yeah.
I mean, it's also etiquette, right? You know,
Yeah.
and this is one of the topics that I want to talk about in detail. You know, in terms of photographer etiquette when it comes to handling models, right? There are obviously some photographers who are very handsy, right? They'll come and they'll start touching the outfit on you, and then start touching your skin and everything. You know, I mean, there's always that photographer. I know, right? Always make it a point, to ask for approval, right? If you're going to touch something, and if it's obviously close to all the sensitive areas, get the stylist who's a female to do it. And don't do it yourself. It's just wrong. You know what I mean? Wouldn't you agree? I mean, I'm sure you have had, bad experiences with bad photographers. So I would love to hear the good and the bad. Yeah.
Let me think.
I guess sometimes it's also not about touching, but knowing your limits. For example,
A jokes,
well,
right?
it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be even a lingerie shoot, but knowing your limit of, where to stop. And I mean, it doesn't have to be touching. It can be, verbal, but
Right.
sometimes, models start very young and they
Right.
don't really know how to handle themselves in certain situations. And can you imagine if it's a test shoot and there's basically just you, photographer, maybe a makeup artist, and that's it. And how do you behave in such situations? So knowing your limits is a must.
Katya, you remember there's this one time you went for casting and I was waiting for you downstairs, and it was with a photographer, names I won't mention, and a stylist, names I won't mention, but you came in fuming mad into the car, and the photographer and stylist told you to change into an outfit and literally strip in front of them. And they said, oh, just change here. Don't worry. We'll just turn our backs and do something else. You just change here. I think that was super unacceptable. And,
Sounds so
I
familiar.
immediately call up the motherfuckers and I gave them a piece of my mind. I said, you call yourself professionals, I'm going to come down on you, and obviously they know who I am. But, that being said, that's no way to work. You give the models the room. You give them the space. You find a room for them to change and not say, you can change here. We just turn our backs. You are two fucking dicks, guys, straight guys on top of that. Right. So that got me so upset. There's no respect sometimes. And I think, these are the things that you all sometimes don't think about. But to a girl, there's a lot of vulnerability and sensitivity.
It's not even that we don't think. It's also the agencies. There was a one time that I complained about one photographer, and I received an answer that, oh, it's okay, he's very well known photographer, and later on you can get really good jobs with him. But I was like, I don't care. And he's like, I was at the casting and the guy asked me to change into his like see-through underwear, which I was like, okay, I was already wearing quite see-through underwear, but like, okay, I thought it's just for a test shoot, I wasn't thinking anything like dodgy or dirty, anything, and I was above 18 years old or above 21. Let's not mention my name, actually, or my age. So I changed, he took pictures, and after a while, I find it on Instagram without my permission on his page.
Oh no.
And I actually didn't like it, so I complained to the agency, and they say, oh, Sasha, just take it easy because he's very well-known photographer. Yeah, so there was literally nothing I could do because the people who supposed to take care of me, didn't do anything.
Exactly.
And they are the one responsible,
Yeah. So sometimes as models, you have to
stand up for ourselves.
Yeah. You have to fend for yourselves and be smart about it as well.
But you see, when the models are young.
Yeah, when the model is underage, that's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I understand. We had this conversation with Katya as well.
Yeah.
At that age, you are sometimes forced to be put in a position which is kind of scary.
So I've decided never to go for his castings after.
Yeah. Okay.
So whatever it is.
Yeah. Okay. So on the topic of bad experiences, anybody has any bad experiences to share?
I think that was the only one bad experience in Singapore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me.
Okay. Cool.
Jean, anything from you?
For me, it's pretty recent lah. So I was doing a shoot in London, and then because of COVID-19 situation, there was a bit of like xenophobia going around. So yeah, and because I'm Asian, right? So the team was like, I was like having a flu lah. But then of course they could tell that I wasn't like in the peak condition lah. So they kind of made the like insensitive remarks about my race, like am I from China and whatnot, and that made the shoot a bit like tense and like uncomfortable. Yeah, because I think these remarks are really uncalled for, especially given the current like situation and all. And it's the first time I'm working with them, and it's like a kind of a regular job kind of thing lah. So if you give me this kind of treatment in the first instance, right, how am I going to continue working with you if I know that you have this kind of preconceived prejudice and discrimination against me, that kind of thing? Yep. So I think, as a team, not only photographers, like the whole team must be sensitive as well to the models' feelings and emotions as well lah. And because a lot of us like we travel overseas, we are far from home, we are homesick, we have a lot, to be honest, there's a lot of emotional things that we have to overcome as models as well. So if we face this kind of situation, it kind of like make us spiral down sometimes if we don't know how to manage our emotions well. So yeah, just treat others how you want to be treated, lor. That's how I feel. It's very important.
Very good advice.
Yeah.
Katya, any?
Well, along in the past, there was quite a few. I worked in China for quite a lot of catalogs as well. But that's a long past. But yeah, I mean, we have been saying that, as much as you were just saying, that the whole crew should be taking care of you as a model, I still feel that photographers have the power to, to control, the whole, even if, makeup artist, stylist, or whoever is on the set is being unrespectful to you, as a photographer, it's important to, to take course in your hands and do something about it. And yeah, so.
Okay, that's good.
And
that's
I also heard of like cases where models are overworked. I heard like of some cases from my other model friends, like in China, they really overwork the models to the core. So I think it's good that you should give enough sufficient breaks so that not only for the model as well, the whole team needs to take a break, and and the shoot can become more efficient after that.
Yeah. That's for sure.
But sometimes that kind of thing, Jeff, I think you'll be able to answer this. It's not at the mercy of the photographer, right? Because if the client requests for certain things, and then we kind of have no choice as well, right?
There are a lot of variables obviously involved.
Yeah.
But I think still that, again, like what Katya said as well, you are somewhat the leader, and I think you should try as much to exert that leadership and steer the crew and everybody, with that simple mentality. I think if you have a very strong mentality towards taking care of, when you have, this is the person that's going to be in front of the camera to look fresh and happy. Think about it, yeah? Okay? And if you cannot even make this person fresh and happy, how is this person supposed to be and look fresh and happy in front of the camera, right? So, it's I mean, it doesn't take a genius to think about that. I think it's really that when you have that you give enough attention, but also not too much attention, right? I mean, sufficient attention to what's in front of your camera, and to make sure that they are dressed appropriately. If it's too cold and she's wearing a bikini, warm up the studio. It's all these simple things that will contribute to allowing the model to perform, right? And I think that is on the photographer, definitely, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I should add, right now we're putting too much, pressure on the photographer that he has to do everything, but I'm sure there are models out there, that using that sort of, I'm a diva here, everybody should take care
abusing
of me.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in this industry for models, there's no rules, so it really depends on the person. So of course you have to
unless you're Naomi
be mindful
Campbell
of that. But even so, I mean,
yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah. So what I'm trying to say is basic, respectful things, and
towards one
playback here,
another.
depends on
Yeah.
the person.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's answer some questions. I believe that this question has been answered kind of. What's the most important factor to help make it more comfortable experience for you on set? I think we have mentioned a few times, just be respectful of each other's. I think the right word to use here is for everybody to be human first, and not not to be the photographer first, but to be human, to feel for one another, to have empathy and compassion. I think the set will go on very smoothly. Yeah.
Yep.
And what about photographers? Do you prefer photographers who have very specific vision and guides you to very precise poses, or do you prefer? So I think this is a question of do you want to have very specific visuals that you have to copy, or to free flow and to get images by feel? Yeah. So
I think a little bit of both.
Both.
But I think we actually answered that question, right?
Like a balance.
Yeah, but it definitely, you have to have a clear vision of what you're actually looking for. You have to be prepared what you're shooting. You don't just come on set and was like, okay, let's just
pose.
wing it.
Go.
Yeah, pose. Just go. Just go for it. No, just like whatever. Figure it out.
Yeah.
That may be for catalog. Yeah. That may be for catalog.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But there's another version, unless your husband is a photographer.
Yeah.
Okay. And any contracts signed for test shoot? So far I haven't signed any contracts for test shoot. It's all on trust. Jeff?
Yeah, but it should be a standard model release form that the photographer should put together, so that it protects not only yourself as the photographer but the models. It should be a document that would ensure and give comfort to both parties that you are doing this for no money or for whatever amount of money, and the usage is going to be for what, so that there won't be any further disputes if it's going to be used in a certain way, because obviously it's a test shoot. But what if 3 weeks down the road that image is being used in an ad? Then it becomes a very different story. All this, there is a standard model release contract where photographers and models understand their rights towards each other's intellectual property. Okay, so always remember that. Then there is also who is this? There's this Serbi asking, for photographers that you are working for the first time, what do they do that can make you warm up to them, which results in a better collaboration? Any no-nos, any pet peeves?
I think you just have to talk to us, tell us a little bit about yourself, show us your work. We'll do the same thing.
Get the ball rolling.
Yeah, get the ball rolling.
Yep.
It's the worst when no one speaks to you and it's just sort of like very cold.
You feel very uncomfortable and you don't know what you're getting into. So for me, at least as a photographer, I've always made it a point to always firstly say hello to the models, when they come in, and then sit them down when they are warmed up a little, they've had a drink, get them coffee, tea, whatever they need. And then I would then very quickly show them what to expect for the day, brief them on my expectations, number one, what to expect, because they would love to know what time it's going to end and things like that. I always give them some I mean, typically every model wants to know what time the shoot is going to end, and I address that. I say, okay, today we are in for a very simple one. It's going to end in what time?
I always have to ask it myself.
Okay, wow, okay, yeah, right. Or if it's going to be a long shoot, I'll prepare them and set their expectations. It's going to be a long one, but don't worry, I'll do my best, So at least there is that understanding, right? And then also sometimes what I will do when I'm overseas is I will send, I'll get my iPad, which is a page with all the best of my work in a slideshow. I'll pass it to my assistant, and I get my assistant to show it to the models first before I walk in, right? So the models will have an impression of what is this photographer, because they don't know who I am, right? I'm an international photographer. They never heard of me. And then I will get my assistants to send my work in to show the models who I am, what I am, so that they know coming in what to expect, what kind of standard I am. So, that always helps, because then they look at my work and they go, oh, wow, okay, he's a pretty cool photographer. This is his work. Wow, okay, I'm going to work hard. Because usually when models see that, they're working with a higher caliber of photographers, and they see their work, and then they'll get excited and they go, you mean I'm going to look like that? Okay, cool. Then I'll work hard, right? So it is just prepping them psychologically going into the game with you, in the next few hours, what to expect. So that's what I do. And then I go in, I have a little chit chat with them. So I think that is essentially what I would do as a photographer to get to know them, like what every other one of the ladies here are saying, get to know us, get to know them, right?
Yeah. I usually ask them what band or what music do you listen to, and then if it happens to be the same kind, and then we play on set, wow, that
and if not, who wins?
Then, we'll just
then
see
we show who's the boss instead, right? Okay, I'm the boss. Play my music today.
No, maybe I'll just play another genre that both of us don't like. So yeah,
that sounds great. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's about commercial jobs, right? Commercial and editorial. But if you work for catalog, let's say, right, or you shoot catalog, it's a little bit different, I have to say. Like the vibe between a model and a photographer, it's slightly different. You just literally go there to shoot, and it's okay, bye-bye.
Yeah.
But that's what I feel. Yeah, you just, yeah. And the photographer is just like behind the camera, just quietly standing there, like click, 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 click.
Yeah.
He's a technician.
There's literally nothing to learn about each other, seriously, in this kind of line of work.
Yeah. I mean,
unfortunately.
Probably Katya has some experiences about that, because you did quite a lot of catalog work in Guangzhou, was it? Or where?
Not only.
Shanghai,
there was a lot. Japan and
Japan,
Korea.
Yeah.
So it was a very cool experience, I'm sure.
Oh, but the Japanese market is totally different.
Catalogs is Japan and China and Korea are completely three different. In Japan, exactly, you don't understand anything. They don't understand you. I worked not in Tokyo, but Osaka, so that's even worse in terms of language. And it's very rare that you get, somebody speaks English. But yeah, it's exactly, it's a different vibe. But yet, I have experienced, still a good experience during catalogs, So it's exactly like Brian said, it's all about being human in the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the biggest mistakes photographers don't realize they make and should fix right away?
Good question, though.
Forget to take out landscape.
We really have to think. Yes.
Then the model looking at the landscape in the lens. Oh, do I tell the photographer?
He's going, beautiful, beautiful.
I actually have to say, I think you guys should let us talk in a sense that, okay, we can give a pretty good tips during the shoot, because from our perspective, let's say, or a good advice, and sometimes it really works out. So rather than standing there and doing like the same mistake, or the picture is not coming out the way you want it to, be, then you just like move a little bit or suggest something, and I find it really worked a couple of times.
Yep.
Yeah. So just like don't shut us up completely. Let us talk.
I would just add to this. When there is experiences where a photographer and the whole crew is just set on something and they want to shoot exactly like that, but they're not getting it from me because it's just a natural to me stand that way or hold it like that, and obviously I just can't give that that picture. So what I usually do while they're talking or something, I'll just relax into something else that I find will work out, and then they will suddenly see, oh, that is good.
Yeah, it's an old,
and that works.
It's an old trick, right? It's an old trick. Yeah.
So
I mean, people get fixated about following a reference, and that fixation often kills the flow on the shoot. It's happened to me all the time. Clients get fixated about reference, and then they want to get the exact fucking pose, and the model is built differently, the face structure is different, and this model in front of me doesn't look anywhere in by size or look like that other model, and how are we going to get exactly? So sometimes photographers need to learn how to convince the people they work with or themselves that you need to work with what's in front of you, right? And that's the girl or the guy in front of your camera. Work with that, work with what you got, and not try to mimic and copy something of some supermodel who is obviously so crafted and then so different from this model in front of you. That's never going to work, right?
Actually, you're talking about bad experiences. Now I remembered one, and you're talking about the same thing, that you should be able to work with someone that is in front of you, because exactly your reference is one thing and you casted for another thing, and that on the casting day or somehow you thought that this model will work out, but on the shoot itself it's not working out because perhaps the styling or makeup, just something doesn't work, or maybe all together. And that's understandable, but of course it's also a lot on models. You have to be able to give out and perform, but at the same time, there is exactly that, there should be that connection. I had an experience where my job was canceled literally in the middle of the shoot, and it happened because they didn't like what they were seeing, and of course it made me feel extremely bad because I couldn't deliver as a model. But at the same time, reverting back myself, I understood that it's not only about me, it's the whole crew that just didn't see me for what I am, of how you can transform me or something like that. Yeah. So it's a lot about feeling as well.
Okay. About being sensitive, right? Yeah. Okay.
I think it's important for photographers to learn how to communicate and also take a step backwards. Sometimes if you feel that the model can't get a certain expression or certain action that you want, perhaps the problem may not be the model, but yourself, because you are too fixated on something, or you're trying to catch a jump shot and then the timing of your shutter doesn't time very well with the step or whatsoever. So sometimes I would just stop and then ask the model, say, hey, I want to achieve this. Is there any way that you can try to make it work? And yeah, just by a little communication, I think it will just make it go much further. Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh,
Okay,
where did Sasha go?
we kind of lost. Yeah, we lost her.
Yeah.
She says she's trying to get back in. I don't know what's going on.
Sasha?
Yeah.
Okay.
No
While
worries,
we try to get her back in, maybe we move on to the next question first. No male models here, but you hang out with them. Any advice on hanging out with male models?
Hanging out in what sense?
I don't know why.
Hanging out or working with male models?
Not hanging out.
Working.
working with them. Okay. Yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
sorry, hang on, stop. Daniel,
Okay.
Daniel, are you there?
Yeah, yeah.
Daniel?
Yeah.
Hey, Sasha says the link is not valid. She can't join. How?
Oh, okay, never mind. Let me just do that.
Can you send me another something?
Yeah.
Okay, I will send this to her.
Okay, she's
thanks.
back.
Yeah,
she's
she's
back.
back.
She's back.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. You there, Sasha?
Yes, sorry, it's my
Yes,
fat
it's
slippery
okay.
fingers.
It's okay. Welcome back.
Okay, thanks. Sorry again.
Are you putting on weight on your fingers?
Yeah, I shouldn't be fiddling with my camera.
Lockdown has made your
It's better
fingers fatter.
Finger power, yes.
Okay, cool.
Sorry.
Cool. Lovely to have you back.
I'm not messing with my phone anymore, okay?
Okay. So, how many photos should be given? As much as possible, or realistic number, but where if a model didn't manage to get the shot, example, newer models. So I guess, what Kremen is asking is, what is a realistic amount of images to give to you if we are doing a test shoot, etc. Right? Would you 6 to 8?
Yeah, I guess you have short list and then maybe about 5 around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think, I personally, I feel of a comfortable amount of numbers is at least 6 to 8.
Okay.
But that's for half day or full day shoot.
It doesn't really matter. I think, it'd be kind of nice to have, various angles, various crops for the model to then decide, what to put in the portfolio. Yeah, right?
Interesting. Yep.
Okay. What type of images should be shot for a new model's portfolio? How was your experience while shooting your first portfolio? It's an interesting question.
I think it should be a few different looks, that's for sure.
Looks
but mine
in-
was so long ago, guys. It was so long ago. Oh my gosh.
You mean last year?
Let's pretend it was last year. Short memory. But I was like 15, I think, and oh my god, that was just so embarrassing actually, because I couldn't really move much and I didn't know what I was doing in front of the camera. But it was just very basic clean looks, and then it was just evening look and something else I can't recall.
Definitely not.
But I
much
think it
styling.
didn't change much, right? I don't think it changed much.
Okay.
It's pretty much the same standard poses.
I think Katya said not too much styling. That's exactly right.
Raw, very raw.
Don't get too
not say
creative.
raw. I wouldn't say raw as well. Keep it clean.
Yeah.
Keep it clean, very, very, proper, clean. I think that would help a model have a proper com cut. Number one, you need a headshot, right? You need a half body shot and you need a full length shot, right? And then like what Sasha said, you need various different types of looks, right? It can be evening wear, it can be a bikini shot, it can be a casual shot, more often than not. Once you cover this basis, you would essentially be able to help the model build that portfolio, right? Headshot, half body shot, full length shot, and then followed by the looks, which is a bikini, casual, and a more sophisticated outfit, like a gown or something, that would help the model be able to be seen in various looks and conditions. Right?
Definitely.
I think
put an effort into the headshot, because that's the money shot. The headshot, right? Spend a fair amount of time shooting and getting that beautiful headshot of that model, because that's what sells the model. every photographer who looks at a composite card will be hit by that headshot first. And when that headshot appeals to me, I will then flip to the other side to see the rest of the pictures, right? So that is, that to me is like the window display. I want to see more, right? So spend a decent amount of time getting a beautiful headshot, and headshots are timeless if you think about it, right? Keep the headshot to be very clean, very beautiful, very not like with too many colors on the makeup. It's not a makeup artist portfolio. Remember, it's a model's portfolio. You need to see the model, not the makeup. Okay. I think this should be the main core things that a model will need in her portfolio.
Yep.
Jean, you wanted to say something?
I think also sometimes depends on the model's kind of like branding kind of thing. Because for me personally, my experience is because I started out with like a pixie cut, like a more androgynous look. So my portfolio, when I first started out building it, it was more towards that vibe.
Right.
Yeah, but it's also good to give like a variation to show that this model can be versatile to pull off different kind of looks as well.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's to be said actually for models. I think it has to be updated. Like every time you change your look or you get a little bit older like me.
And
so every year you have to update.
And I think also depends which country you're working in, because that's really also important. I mean, of course, you can get international jobs while you're in that country, but if you're based for a short time in this particular country, that's also important to.
Yeah, I think in terms of a headshot, it's very important to find something that is very workable. Like this, for example, right? This is a beautiful image for a headshot, for example. I think for composite cut, this would sell.
Really, I should tell to my husband actually.
yeah. Dave is starting to become quite a decent photographer.
Yeah.
Starting to stop flying planes. Be a photographer. Yeah. I think he's here. I think he's on Zoom. Somewhere.
Yeah,
he's watching.
He's standing behind
He's
the door
here.
listening.
Yeah,
seriously.
he's here. He sent me a picture. He sent me a WhatsApp of the whole screen of all of us.
No, he knows how to use Zoom. I can't believe it.
So he's actually in the chat. So I think it's important. It's important to create various looks and keeping it very clean in terms of like this is a beautiful shot as well. This is a beautiful shot of you in terms of a composite cut, right?
Thank you.
I know. Moving on to Jean, things like this. Please, try not to do. On the composite shoot for but you're right to say that, Jean. In a sense, you are very much you have a certain look about you, and that's your DNA, your modeling DNA, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
But then again, this to me is a beautiful headshot for a Comcard, right? This is what I would appeal to me to want to see. Hey, I want to see more of Jean, right? Then when I go into her portfolio, I would love to see, all the other shots of you in half body, the way you move, and so on and so forth, right? A very quick thing I want to talk about as well when it comes to models, right? When it comes to models, in terms of a photographer reacting to a model's portfolio, for example, right? I think a very important thing that a lot of photographers don't do is to study a model's portfolio, right? You must all understand that, just looking at a model's portfolio, so to speak, you are able to look at it like a storybook. I always look at models' portfolios. This is not their portfolio, firstly. This is their IG accounts, right? But if you do look at a model's portfolio, it is a storybook about the model. This is something I want to tell photographers, right? And even for you ladies, it is something that you can learn. As a photographer, I've made a point whenever I review a model's portfolio by her book or whatever, that's a gateway into who this model is for me. Right? So when I'm flipping, when I'm looking, I'm looking at all the pictures that are shot by, 50 different photographers in this portfolio. It is a storybook, book about who you are as a model, which means when I look at your portfolio, I go, okay, this girl always left profile. There must be something wrong with her right profile, for example, right? So it is a storybook in that sense, or every time, 70% or 80% of her portfolio is all chin up images, right? Then I would love to know why all these photographers don't want to shoot her from the top down, right? These are the questions that I will ask myself. I will totally ask myself when I'm reviewing a model's portfolio, and I will want to understand more about a model. I go into it and I probe and I learn by looking at all the other photographers, what they have done and what have they not done. Right? This opens up a very deep insight into who this model is. And then I can then explore what everybody else is doing, or find something that nobody has done before. Right? So suddenly the tables are turned. I'm able to take the lead and create something that nobody has done before. Like, for example, I will give this photographer huge compliments to making you look so different. Right? For example, you know what I mean? Because that's not your look. But he in terms of the styling, in terms of the photography and the angle, make you look so different. So it's things like that I'm very interested to learn about a model. So as photographers, make it a point to understand and study your models. When I go and chat up a model in the makeup room when she's doing her makeup, more often than not today, in fact, I will ask, can I have a look at your Instagram? Share with me some of your pictures. Or I do that even before meeting the girl. I ask the agency to send me their IG account so that I can go and study the model and look at the model and understand if she's good up or down, if she's good left or right, right? Is she a profile girl or is she a straight on girl? These are the questions that I always have. There is those different kind of girls or guys that I have, right? This is a chin up boy, he's a chin down boy. She's a chin-up girl, she's a profile girl, she's a three-quarter girl, she's a straight-on girl, right? I label people, or based on that. And then from there, going into the shoot, I know how my course of attack, right? Whether I'm going to be spending my time going straight on the model, or do I be spending my time 3/4 to the model? And then this will affect the way I light, even. If she's straight on, or she's 3/4 to the left, I won't be putting the light on the right because she's 3/4 to the left. I will put my main light to the left, for example, right? So if you got to really be, so considered about your processes going in, then when you're shooting and you're prepping and when you're lighting, it's going to be so much easier, and your probability of getting a better shot becomes so much higher when you do your homework as a photographer. Do I make sense?
Absolutely.
Right? So my advice to models as well is, curate your portfolio to show the amount of range that you have, right? To allow for anybody who's seeing your portfolio to gain a better insight to you by giving enough of the chin ups and chin downs in the left and the right, so that you come across as a very versatile model that you can take, any angle and not
360.
always on the always going left, and then you're like, what the fuck's wrong with the right,
I think now we all have this problem, right? We always like, okay, my working side is right side. Let's say
Best
now we're always
side,
gonna face it. Yeah, this is my working side now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the problem.
Lovely. Okay. Any other
I think there was
questions?
a question, Miss, on how do you work with male models?
Okay.
Before we lost Sasha, there was a question on male models.
Please go ahead and
sorry.
answer that.
Yeah.
Please go ahead and answer that. Can someone answer? One of you answer? In terms of working with male models.
I will go a little bit about that. I don't think there's very much to note, because it's also, again, making comfortable both models by, starting a conversation and just getting everybody sort of like known to each other, so that
Mm.
comfort levels are there. And yeah, of course amongst models we will do that, but when there's connection between everyone, then that's much easier to work.
Mm. Okay.
And again, limits of what
The boundaries, yeah.
Yeah, the boundaries.
yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? From DGT to me, can show example of how you label one of the models here today from her IG. I think if I need to label the models here today, for example, Katya, I will label her as wife material. No, just kidding.
Oh, gosh.
But
Jean
that's true,
would,
actually.
Jean would be very much a fashion model. And she knows that, that's her strength. She's a very editorial fashion model because she has that body for it, right? She's very long, very skinny, and she's got that very edgy face, and that's how I would position her more. Although there are some pretty amazing pictures of her that's actually really soft and feminine and beautiful, which is quite against the grain, and that's also the beauty of those photographers being able to see past that editorial aspect of her.
I think she can do lifestyle very well as well. Yeah.
Lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it is a bit of the photographer's ability to find what nobody is seeing. I think that's what sets people apart, because at first glance I can say you are not a smiling model, you are very very like well, not RBF, but a very fashion look model. But then again, when I scroll, I start to see smiling pictures on you and go, wow, I actually want to cast you in a beauty campaign. I want to do makeup with you. I want to do a skincare campaign with you, for example. So there is a lot of depth into researching. Then there's Sasha. Sasha comes across as a very, and based on your IG again, although you model a lot of your swimsuit, you look amazing in all the swimsuit designs that you have. You also have a very very upper class fashiony look. You are not that kind of there is that sophistication, and that's how I will cast you, for example, right? So yeah, very, very different ways of looking at models. So yeah, I think that's how I would see.
Thanks, Jeff. It's good to know, actually, as well. Something new today.
I've got a very interesting question that while I was putting together one of our our internal team, we were putting up questions to ask, and then one of it is actually, I don't know how to say it, but to just say it. How do you feel about having to strip for a shoot? What are the limits in terms of nudity, and how is the right approach if even if you do it? Obviously in Europe it's a no big deal, kind of thing, but there's also comfort levels and etiquette, so to speak. We love to know.
Actually, in Singapore, it's very different, right? From Europe. Here, it's like you can be charged, right, if you do something like that. Like fashion shows, you have to cover everything. You can't see nipples, you can't see butt crack or anything like that. Everything have to be covered. Whether on the shoot, I think before I was a little bit more open-minded. Whether now I'm a bit more concerned, and I will have a lot of questions with the photographer and production team, how it's gonna look. I want it to look nice, not dodgy, not too erotic, if I do it, I will do it for something like beautiful and artistic, rather than like the cheap shot.
Okay.
I will think 10 times before I do it. No.
It really depends what is it for, and what's the idea behind it. I guess you really need to understand
Yeah.
what it's there. Yeah.
Mm.
But fashion shows, as much as you said, Sasha, there is no nudity to it. But what's going on at the back?
Yeah. Oh gosh.
That's completely
back.
different thing.
Yeah, backstage it's a totally different topic for Zoom session.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, and I know I've actually was invited by one of my best friends who's a fashion designer, and she had me come help shoot her fashion show one time, as a favor. Although I don't do such things, but I did it for her, and in the backstage, the girls were running around naked and everything, and I saw this photographer starting to shoot. I went there, and I obviously, me being me, I went to start to fuck him, big time, for shooting that, and I kicked him out of the room. I think end of day, the girls are doing their job and they're busy. They have no time to turn around and tell you to fuck off, because they need to change and get ready to walk out in the next minute.
Yeah,
right?
I think now we can voice out as well. Like if I see some people who are not supposed to be on the backstage, I will always raise a concern about it, because I'm really not feeling comfortable. I don't want my pictures to be taken and posted somewhere, God knows where, on Instagram or something. Oh, the girls are changing with on the backstage, BTC and stuff like that. Yeah. So now I see less random people on the backstage, but only the people related to the shoot or to the fashion show, which is really good.
Yeah. But in terms of shooting, or what is deemed appropriate and the right approach in terms of, other than, obviously it being safe, it being proper, is there a right approach to, approaching a model to do something that is appropriate in terms of, nudity, so to speak?
It has to be agreed, of course. You can't just ask a model to strip, in front of the camera. Oh, now you take off your shirt,
Totally.
In fact, when you just sign, the model sign a contract with the agency, they state very clearly that whether they are willing to do
Clauses.
like nude, clauses, nude shoots and all. So you have to spell it out very clearly, and then it is actually for the agency to tell the photographers, the team, that you cannot shoot nudity. The limits.
Yeah, now they actually ask you before you go for this job. They actually ask you.
Yes.
Whether you're willing to do it or not.
Yes. Right. So, to photographers, always bear in mind, that there are proper channels to do this. Always get permission from the agency first. Right. I think the proper way of doing things is, number one, check with agency, then check with model. Because it is also the job of the agency to take care of the models.
Yep.
Right. I think there's a protocol in that, and not be too pushy and spontaneous about it. I think there should be a certain amount of protocol involved.
I think respect is the word to use. Yeah, just be respectful of people who are working, who are making a living out of anything. Yeah. So, okay. Do we have any more questions for the ladies? Oh, in fact, we have quite a lot of people on our session. 43 on Zoom, and we have 28 now on Facebook Live. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just having a dirty joke.
Do you want to share?
If we strip, we will have more people.
Yeah. If what? Sorry, what?
If we strip, we will have more people.
Tits and ass always sells. Just like Instagram,
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so do the models choose the agency, or the agency chooses the model? Yeah.
It depends what age you are.
Yeah,
and
if you
where you are in life. If you're just starting out, then perhaps the agency chooses you. But if you're older and a bit more established and tried a few countries and so on and so forth, and perhaps you're even established in some country, then you have that possibility to choose.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about Jean? I mean, since you are the new kid on the block and then you're doing very well as well, do you get to choose which agency you want, especially now that you're trying to make a bigger name for yourself? Yeah.
Actually, currently I'm still pretty new with each of the agencies that I've just signed with, and most of them I got scouted through the competitions that I've joined. So it's more of they see the potential in me and then they decide to sign me. But I have an agent that is like actively sending out my portfolio to agencies overseas that fit my that he thinks works well for me. So it's a two-way thing, lor. So in order to expand to different markets, right, you will have to submit your portfolio, or your agent will have to submit your portfolio to potential agencies. And sometimes it works the other way, like through Instagram. So certain agencies will find you on Instagram, and then they are interested to sign you, and then they will look for you and that kind of thing. Yeah, so it goes two ways now with social media and everything.
I have this interesting thinking, would it be better to join an agency that's not so famous and then potentially you will get more jobs? Or would you go to a very famous agency and then, amongst all the super pro people, you may not get that many jobs, but then at least your name is there. Which is better for you girls?
But that's exactly what I said. It really depends. Sorry, June.
No, go ahead.
It really depends what you're looking for. When you're older, I guess, as a model, you will then decide what do you need. Do you need to make money and more commercial jobs? Then which agency is good at which agency is good for that, or do you need to make a career out of it? So, money is the side, everything else is the side. So you need a name. So agency there is important as well, or an agent. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, for me, I feel that starting out, especially because I've like been with like smaller scale agencies, and currently the agencies I'm with are pretty established. So I feel that as a new face, it's actually good for you to be with a big agency, because the pool of clients and the connection and network that they have is much stronger. So it allows them to push you to the right people better than joining a small agency initially. Yeah, so once you establish your portfolio and your reputation as a model, and then it's easier for you to transition to whichever you feel better fits you.
Okay. So I think Clement has a question. I think how do you react when models edit photos already I think this is more for photographers. Yeah. I think Jeff will give you a big piece of his mind when
you retouch my picture on top of me.
Yeah. So the model will Meitu the photo that Jeff has already retouched.
Tune it more, right? Face tune it more. Make it smaller nose, bigger eyes.
Of course, it's a no. I mean, I will definitely talk to the model and then make some sense of it and why. But I've actually had that before. I had one model who actually did it, and I just laughed it off. I said, I mean, it's not really nice, but if that's how you want to put it in your IG or whatever, end of the day, it's not the end of the world, right? I mean, there's better things to be concerned about, So if that
just
model
don't tag me.
Yeah, don't tag me. Yes, exactly. Jericho has a question. Favorite cities and countries to work in?
Singapore.
Or because you're married to Singaporean, or
because I need to get my PR. No, but truth to be told, like really, I love Singapore. I love working with people here. I feel more secure here in terms of work environment as well. No, go ahead.
Finish what you have to say.
No, it's just that I feel I can voice out my concerns if I don't like something. I feel protected. I established such a great relationship with my agency here, which I know will always support me. But that's being in Singapore 10 years, and knowing all the clients and knowing my agency so well. But I would love to go back to New York, that's for sure. That's where the freedom is, actually. And all the fun.
Yeah. Okay.
I would also add in terms of, in Asia, I saw so much efficiency in Thailand, and that comes to everything, makeup, stylist, everything, commercial jobs, and they are so, well set and prepared on, I mean, that's why probably castings there. I mean, I've never worked there full time, and I heard that the castings is done by full makeup and hair. That's pretty much a lot of models, but if it's a commercial job that that you're already in, they are very prepared, and that's great. That's amazing.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. Oh,
okay. One question. Someone asked, does those studio lights hurt your eyes? How do you maintain your eyes to be healthy? I think at night after the shoot, go clubbing so that the eyes do the same. Yeah, you get used to it. Yeah.
Just blink a lot. I think actually the sunlight is the worst than the studio light. That's for me personally, yeah. But by the end of the day, just use eye drops.
Yeah.
I mean, for me as a photographer, if the model is having problems with opening their eyes, I get them to close their eyes and wait till I'm ready to shoot, then open their eyes. Right?
It never works for me for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah, sorry for interrupting, but it never works for me.
Yeah, really? Okay, maybe you haven't worked with me.
Yes, Jeff, why? I never worked with you yet. Why? I have to raise this question in this chat.
Soon. Okay.
Okay,
cool,
but one
cool.
thing about studio
next.
lights that I think many don't know about, right, is actually the flash duration is actually so short that it doesn't really hurt the eyes. Yeah, but of course, if it's too intense and you're popping like high speed popping, then yeah, maybe someone might just collapse on the floor into a seizure. Yeah, I think they will happen to anybody, including the photographer. Yeah, but most importantly is that when you're using high quality studio lights like Profoto or any other brands that is not the cheap kind, you're getting a refresh rate or a flash duration that is so short that it's even safe for babies as well. So I think this is one of the reasons why studio lights are not as bad as or as harmful as sunlight where the UV is so high. Yeah, so this is one thing that a lot of people don't know.
Okay.
And to be honest, I'll add, I think on fashion shows, the lights are so much fairer than shoot that, shoot
Get
become
used to
just, yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're just walking blindly, right? You don't know where you step because
exactly.
There's
nothing about
it blinds
your
you,
eyes.
yeah.
What is more uncomfortable is the smiling, like after shoot or show, that you just want to become, shoot or show. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we take the last question from JD. Hands play an important role in posing. Would you like to give some tips on it?
I think you just have to know, well, first of all, you have to know your best angle, that's for sure. And you just have to practice a little bit. Like if you don't have enough experience, you just have to practice in front of the mirror, look on Pinterest, find models, find the poses. Actually, I have something to add to that. Being a model, right? And being so posy all the time, like I'm just posing. I can't do just simple lifestyle pictures. My toes always have to be pointed, I always have to sit straight. My chest has to be like forward, very commercial kind of style. Yeah, but you just have to know your best angle, that's for sure. That's the main thing, I think.
I think even as photographers, you should sometimes, sit in front of the mirror and pose yourself, and move yourself and understand what it takes to move and behave and, adopt a certain pose, right? It would help you in understanding the human body, in terms of bone structures. It would help you in feeling how awkward a pose might be or might not be. These are the things that as a photographer you should do. I don't know, because like I've always said in my many of my talks, always get into the position of where the model is and get into their shoes and understand what they feel, how they feel, on set. Always go to that position, stand there, sit there, look at the light if it's too bright, feel the aircon if it's too cold, right? And look across to the camera and see what they see when they are sitting. And these are the things that I do as a photographer. I always do what my model do, right?
Do you try shoes 2 size smaller than your original size?
That one, no. Not yet. I've not worn lingerie and walked around in high heels
Oh my
yet.
gosh, lingerie 2 size smaller is worse than shoes 2 size smaller, okay?
It cuts into the skin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think the biggest tip for JD is, for hands, for me, is never come like this. This makes the hand big, right? When you pose a model, always do this. Always come in at the side. This is the thinnest, most elegant, proportion. So don't come flat on, but come at a 3/4 or come at the side. That always feels thinner and a little bit more elegant. Of course, my chunky short fingers and everything doesn't look quite elegant, but if the girls can do this right now, it feels that much more elegant.
I've got a crooked finger. I always have a problem with this finger. I have to straighten it like all the time.
Yeah.
But how about legs? Legs, sometimes the way you pose, right? Sometimes it can look really fat, and so you have to angle yourself. You can't sit straight towards the camera, especially when you shoot swimwear, right? You can't just, like on the beach, the common like pose, right? When they just sit there like a little bit bend, right, and stuff. So you can't really be like straight into the camera. You have to pose a little bit sideways, so your legs don't look chunky on the picture, unless that's what's your intention.
Yeah, well, for a celluloid ad.
Yeah.
We all have
before and after.
Okay. One last one, I guess. DGT has a question. When you are hired as a model, you are a blank canvas for a photographer. Yeah, that's what I said. Do models want a portrait of themselves that authentically conveys your true personality inside? Beyond a selfie,
Okay, I need someone to answer this question before I answer. I need to think of it.
I think, as you shoot, I don't know, probably when you're on experience, it's really hard to know how to put yourself on camera. But if you really enjoy the process, it will just come out on its own on the picture. You will still end up yourself, I guess. But unless it's just you're really not feeling it, then you really need some assistance either from a photographer to guide you, just to sort of relax and be yourself, to bring it out, or practice a little bit more.
Or even, hair, makeup, wardrobe, all this helps give the model a certain character. So perhaps you want to work in a certain way where the hair, the makeup, the wardrobe is something that the model can relate to, right? Yeah. It's something that she can stylistically relate to. You can't put something that she doesn't wear and make and expect her to be herself, right? For a portrait of her, for example. So maybe put her in something that she feels comfortable in a makeup and hair that she feels comfortable in. Then you will see her true personality come across. So sometimes about being thinking in that way, so to speak, right? So yeah, I always say, be a thinking photographer. It's there's so much more to photography. There's so much more to modeling. We need to think a little bit more about all these nuances, all these details, to be so much better, as photographers. Yeah. Okay. Any last words from our lovely guest tonight?
I'm so happy, guys, you had me tonight. It was such a great experience, actually. And I'm so happy to see all of you healthy and happy.
Thank you.
It was really a blessing for a day today.
Thank you. We are very, very, very fortunate to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
guys.
for allowing us to share our experiences.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
And I'm just glad that someone is finally, taking care of models.
Yes,
and
please.
really
Welfare,
able
welfare.
to listen to us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Feed us. Feed us and
I
keep
hope,
us
you
warm.
know, more of these kind of sessions, more of this kind of sharing, more of this kind of educating
Yep.
would then elevate our industry for both
Mm,
photographers, for models, for crew, anybody. You know, I mean, we are all doing this to make our industry, this industry that we make a living off, this industry that gives us so much joy, a better place to be, right? You know, I wouldn't trade this for anything else, right? This is something I love, you know, after being it for so many years. I still love it. You know, I'm still excited to do anything that I do in this business. So, you know, this is us just protecting our rice bowl, right?
Yeah.
And in turn, you know, we make amazing friends. We interact with talented people that would then, you know, propel our craft, you know, into and make us better in what we do, right? Yeah. Thank you everybody. Brian,
And
any
thank
last
you.
words?
Yeah.
No, I think it's a very insightful session, even for myself. Yeah. So I hope that, you know, you guys can come on more often. We have a next show coming up, our next session. It's going to be who's going to be on the next show?
That Aurora guy, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who came on today because it's models, and then because the next session was
that Zihong.
Study.
Yeah. So since he's here, you know, Eric, you can sell yourself for the next session. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to sell myself. Well, my journey is is a very interesting one for myself because it's learning all the way. So hope it's helpful for everyone else that comes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you know, those of you who are keen to you know, understand, you know, Eric's approach to photography. You know, he's got a very interesting eye in terms of how he shoots fitness. You know, that's a specialty he's been chasing for a while. He's lived and worked in Singapore for a while before moving back to Sydney. So, you know, and that's where he is now. So you're able to understand both sides of the story in terms of him, you know, being a photographer in these two very different countries. So I think that's very interesting. Eric, what's your website?
I'll put it down here. So it's easy.
If you can type it in, and then you know, people can check you out, and then we'll see you guys on Wednesday with Eric.
Yep. Ladies as well, if you want to leave your Instagram handle into the chat, okay, you can do so that you can get, you know, people can follow you and put a name, put a face to the name and what your work has been done. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Big love, big thanks. We'll see you guys again.
Yeah.
Big hugs.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Big hugs. Thanks to our viewers as well. They
Thanks to
were really
Cactus for
great.
live streaming this. Thank you.
Thanks.
Love.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Dave. Where are you?
Bye.
Is David still in the Zoom?
He's still creeping there.
lurking around.
My dog is scratching the door like mad.
Feed me.
Feed me, yes.